tally continues.
President Trump is ready to go to court over the election results in several battleground states. I'm Skyler Henry as the race for the White House is still too close to call.
And the battle for the Senate is not over, with results from some races still too close to call.
The 4 states most watched news starts now.
The vote counting continues in a few battleground states as the razor-thin race to 270 electoral votes narrows. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the race to determine the next president of the United States of America. Nevada just released its latest numbers, and according to the latest CBS results, the former Vice President Joe Biden has increased his lead in Nevada to a little under 12,000 votes. Now, the state has 6 electoral votes on the line. Skyler Henry has more details from the White House.
The battleground states of Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia are getting closer to wrapping up their vote counts.
The anticipation is we will continue to go through the process throughout the day and into the evening if necessary.
The race remains too close to call in those states, with Democratic nominee Joe Biden holding a slight lead in the western states and President Trump with an edge in Georgia. If Biden picks up 2 of those states, he will be the next president.
It's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency.
Or Pennsylvania could send Biden to the White House. President Trump is leading in the Keystone State, but the majority of outstanding ballots are in Democratic-friendly areas.
I feel very good about Pennsylvania. Virtually all the remaining ballots to be counted were cast by mail.
The president tweeted this morning, "Stop the count."
The president promised he would send in the lawyers, and that's exactly what he's doing, with the campaign filing lawsuits in multiple states.
The president dispatched his son and personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, to Philadelphia Wednesday.
We are going to continue the lawsuit here. We're going to bring a second one, and then we're going to bring a federal lawsuit.
Republicans say they are planning to file a new lawsuit in Nevada today. That's on top of lawsuits already filed in Georgia and Michigan, and a demand for a recount in Wisconsin.
You're talking about less than 1%, about 0.7% of the vote is the difference between the 2 candidates. And as you just alluded to, it's about 21,000 votes. Typically hundreds, not thousands of votes shift in an election statewide.
The Biden campaign says it will fight the lawsuits to make sure every vote is counted. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Now, the Biden camp has started fundraising to help offset legal costs. It has also set up a website to begin the transition process. Well, every county in our area favored President Trump. In this list, the counties with the highest percentage vote for the president are at the top. President Trump received more than 80% of the vote in 4 counties in our viewing area, and those were Barton, McDonald, Wilson, and Woodson counties. The highest former Vice President Biden reached in any area county was 39% of the vote, and that was in Labette County. Well, we're in for another, guess what, beautiful day today. Michael Hayslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
I don't know why we're getting so spoiled here in early November. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to be able to carry this into the weekend. Take all that election stress, go outside and get some fresh air, because there's no reason not to. Freeman Health System Sky Camera in Joplin, where we sit at 71 degrees already here at the noon hour. I think the big factor for today is when we look at that wind column, the fact that we're just going to go 5 to 10 miles per hour. We're not going to have to worry about any blustery winds taking over. And look at that cloud cover that we had yesterday afternoon that almost made it overcast. It's now pushed all the way east of the Ozarks, headed toward the Mississippi, on the backside of it to the west. Absolutely a big high pressure system that's going to give us nothing but sunshine and delightful Thursday afternoon and evening weather. A little bit cooler out to the west as well, where we still sit at 69 in Neodesha and Independence, 71 in Carthage, 72 right now in Miami. But for our afternoon planner, everybody able to make it up into the mid 70s. Sunset at 5:16, but even after that happens, we'll have a little redevelopment of cloud cover for Friday. Not a bad thing. Keeps our temperatures very, very mild as we head into the latter half of the work week and the weekend. Look at those 70s just hanging on. Now, Tanya, coming up here in just a little bit, I want to break down exactly what's going to happen in between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Because if you don't take advantage of it right now, I promise you, by the time the next work week rolls around, you're going to be going, it is wet, windy, and cold.
And Tanya must be preparing for a camping trip.
That's the weekend after that.
I know. We haven't even got there yet.
That's right.
We'll just pretend I'm going this weekend. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, protesters are back on the streets and in front of vote processing centers. Democrats in cars and bikes circled the White House this morning in an effort to send a Defend Democracy message. Supporters of former Vice President Joe Biden also marched in New York City, Seattle, and Portland last night. The National Guard was called up in Portland, and there were riots. Republicans are asking for vote counting to continue in states where President Trump is behind, while simultaneously demanding vote counting stop in states where he is ahead. Most of their protests are taking place at vote processing centers like those in Detroit, Phoenix, and Las Vegas. Well, a massive operation is underway in Denmark to put down millions of minks because of COVID concerns. The animal, prized for its fur, is at the center of several coronavirus outbreaks that have spread to people. Riley Carlson has more in World Watch.
Wearing protective equipment usually seen in hospitals, health officials in Denmark are targeting mink farms to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Infections in the otter-like animals have been found on more than 200 farms. The bigger concern is a mutated version of COVID-19 that officials say turned up not only in minks, but in at least 12 people. And it's leading to the mass slaughter of about 15 million minks. The country's prime minister says the mutated virus could interfere with the effectiveness of a future vaccine. Denmark is one of the world's biggest mink exporters, and the killing could cost the industry nearly $800 million. But the government says farmers will be compensated. Residents across the infected region are being advised to get tested so officials can make sure the mutated virus hasn't spread any further. Riley Carlson, CBS News, London.
Minks have been the source of COVID outbreaks here in the U.S. too. Last month, 1,200 minks died from the disease on farms in Utah and Wisconsin. But officials say there's no sign the minks infected any people. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, predictions of a Democratic blue wave did not pan out as Republicans hold on to crucial seats in both the Senate and House. We'll hear from some of the winners. And later, we're baking up a home-style tuna melt in Mr. Food Test Kitchen. The battle for the Senate is not over, with results from some key races not in yet. What is clear, though, predictions of a Democratic blue wave are not panning out. Nancy Cortez reports from New York.
To the people of Maine, thank you, thank you.
Maine Republican Susan Collins blocked one path to a Democratic majority, winning a 5th term in the Senate despite a high-profile challenge from State House Speaker Sarah Gideon.
I feel that this is an affirmation of the work that I'm doing in Washington to fight hard every day.
Other Senate Republicans fended off well-funded foes in Iowa, Texas, and South Carolina.
I'm going back to the Senate with a purpose.
Now the fight for control comes down to 3 states with tight races. The first is North Carolina, where Republican Senator Tom Tillis retains a small lead over Democrat Cal Cunningham, with nearly all the votes counted. CBS News hasn't projected a winner, but Tillis did.
We did it against all the odds, right? I mean, have we heard this before? You're down in the polls, there's no chance of winning. And I believed in every single one of you.
Georgia Republican David Perdue is being more cautious. He's leading Democrat Jon Ossoff, but if Perdue slips below 50%, the race will go to a January runoff. Another Georgia Senate race is definitely headed to a runoff between Senator Kelly Loeffler and Pastor Raphael Warnock, meaning we'll likely wait for months to find out which party controls the Senate. The Senate's current leader, Mitch McConnell, admitted yesterday he's in suspense, just like everyone else.
I don't know whether I'm going to be the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator.
In Arizona, former astronaut Mark Kelly is likely to defeat Republican Senator Martha McSally. And former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper is headed to the Senate after beating Republican Senator Cory Gardner.
It's time for a different approach. It's time to start solving problems and helping people. And that's exactly what I intend to do.
Even if everything goes the Democrats' way, they will only end up with a razor-thin majority.
That was Nancy Cortez reporting. Over on the House side, Democrats are expected to keep their majority with a much slimmer margin. Even though they flipped 2 red seats to blue, Republicans flipped 8, and there are still more than 24 races considered toss-ups. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Today we've got a dish that will earn you a standing ovation every time you serve it. So you better get ready for all that attention.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Thursday rolls around each and every week, and we like to talk about the updated drought monitor. So what we're going to do is go a little bit back in time, talk about middle of October right here. And that's where we saw the beginning of the extreme drought begin along and south of I-44 down by the Monette area. Then as we progressed toward the end of October, we saw the expansion, not only down to the south, but on the other side. Now, I know it's been a very dry week, but go ahead and take yourself back. Remember all that rain that we got that one week? Picked up as much as 4 to 5 inches, especially right in this area. So as we fast forward here, we see it get a little bit better right before Halloween. And now, as we advance today, great news. Been able to lift all this extreme area, little bit of expansion of the moderate drought, but not too bad. And everything in southeast Kansas now pretty much back to dry. And we're able to go back to just the dry category, which I know is not great, but step in the right direction, despite the fact that in that area of rain that we had, that period of rain that we had, this area actually didn't pick up as what we saw right around here. So at least we're headed in the right direction. Now, with that being said, we've got nothing on the backside that's going to present us with any rain really until we get to the beginning of next week. And so when we talk about what we're looking at on our weather almanac, we're actually down for the year just about ½ an inch, should be about 42 inches right now. But once again, 5 days in, nary a drop of rain, and it's going to persist all the way until about the 8th until we do pick up any. You also notice too, I was talking this morning about our record highs. We just haven't gotten that close. It's going to be high 80s, low 70s, despite the fact that we've had absolutely beautiful weather for this first week. 71 right now outside the mothership. Not going to have to fight the wind today, just holding on at 8 miles per hour. We love that. Whole bunch of high 60s, low 70s on the board here at the lunch hour. Couple things of note, low pressure system developed over the Pacific Northwest. Their precipitation now beginning. That's going to follow this trend right here. But what we'll see of this little ridge on the jet stream as it pushes to the east, that precipitation actually able to fall down on us. Now, not only the much needed rain, but also too from the color contour, that's going to give us some cooler temperatures next week as well. There's a cutoff low right here in North Texas, not as intense as what it was this morning. It's not going to really have any effect on us. It'll stay down toward the southeastern portion of the United States. Now, speaking of the southeast, low pressure system that was once Hurricane Eta, done with Nicaragua, now on Honduras, going to make its way toward Cuba, regain strength as a tropical storm. And then what we're looking at as this weekend, it's going to be the southern Florida and especially the Florida Keys that are going to find themselves in Eta's way. We'll pick up a little Gulf moisture, not necessarily from that tropical storm, but just a shift in our winds in the jet stream. And so what that's going to do is present us with two things. Number one, thunderstorm activity that really picks up from Monday night into Tuesday morning. This is what Tanya and I have been talking about all week long right here. When you see the low equal the high, that means the rug's going to get ripped out from us on Tuesday morning through Tuesday afternoon. Temperature is going to fall some 20 degrees on Tuesday. Want everybody prepared for that and want you to take advantage of the 70s all the way through the weekend before then.
Yeah, not really looking forward to that drop next week, so definitely enjoy it.
Mother Nature's going to even us out, so let's ride these 70s and enjoy it while we can.
We'll be due. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Colonel Travis Hoover in the U.S. Air Force. The Joplin native earned a number of honors during his service, and those include the Silver Star and the Distinguished Flying Cross. To Colonel Travis Hoover, we thank you, our four-state hero. We want to be top tomato with your gang? Today, Howard shares a comforting recipe that your entire family is gonna love. We're making a tuna melt casserole in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I remember when I was a kid, there was nothing like a good old-fashioned tuna melt. And it's funny, after all these years, I still love them. There's something about them that makes them so comforting. So I thought it would be fun if we came up with a dish that has everything we love in a tuna melt in the form of a casserole. We start off by cooking some corkscrew pasta, and once it's tender, we drain it really well. While that cools slightly, we add some flour and a little salt and pepper to some melted butter. After that cooks for a minute or so, we slowly stir in some milk and let it simmer until it thickens up. Now, we turn off the heat, stir in a good amount of shredded Swiss cheese, and once it's smooth, we add that along with some canned tuna that we've drained to our pasta and mix it until it's coated. This goes into a baking dish, and we finish it off with some sliced tomatoes and a bit more cheese before baking it off. Once it's bubbling hot and the cheese is all melty, it's ready to serve. Yep, everything we love in a tuna melt, but in the convenience of a casserole. I do hope you'll go online and get the recipe for our tuna melt casserole, so you'll be able to add a new comforting main dish to your dinner lineup. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a easier way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
We're supposed to sit back and look at this day and say, love you, gorgeousness. Absolutely perfect early November temperatures that'll stay in the 70s until the cold front hits from Monday into Tuesday, and that's the next time we'll get rain. Now, let's check in with Dow and look at what's coming up tonight at 5.
Yeah, the pandemic has turned school into a virtual experience for millions of kids. But researchers say cyberbullying is still happening, and it's not just among teens. Plus, we speak to the local nonprofit group that helped bring missing teen Leora Hardy home. And the results of the presidential election are still being counted, and it could be taking a toll on those who voted. We're going to have some tips on how to deal with election grief. Hope you join us for those stories, a lot more, of course. It's all coming up on KOAM News at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.